my journey started when I was, really young. Things happened and I took a meaning on that, I wasn't good enough, lack of self-confidence, self-esteem. Because of that feeling that I had inside me, those thoughts that I had, my mom, she wanted to comfort me, and how she learned was food, right? So I grew up, food was my friend. I struggled with weight because of that, and that just followed me throughout my life. The depression just got worse and worse, and the anxiety got worse, and then my weight kept going up. And at 42, not well, mentally not well, physically I got sick. And in that moment, I thought of my children. My whole life was, I want children, and I'm there for them. So in that moment, I made that decision. That's not the way this is going to go. And that's where my transition started. Is I decided in that moment, no more of this, no more of what I'm doing. I'm looking for something else that's going to help me.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Meta Transitions. I am your host, Trisha K. Williams, and we have today Karen. Karen is a weight loss coach for nurses. Welcome to the conversation, Karen.
Thank you. Thank you for letting me come speak with you and help your listeners out.
Yes, definitely. All right, so we're just going to jump right into it, Karen. Tell me about yourself and what your transition story is.
Yeah, so I was a nurse. I'm a former nurse, and my transition, it really started. My journey started when I was, really young. I grew up, just really things happened, and I took a meaning on that, I wasn't good enough and not doing a good enough job. I had, over the years from age 8 on, there was inside of me, there was just something that I just didn't like about myself. That missing out, that lack of self-confidence, self-esteem. And that just followed me throughout my life. I struggled with weight because of that feeling that I had inside me, those thoughts that I had. My mom, she wanted to comfort me, and how she learned was food, right? So I grew up, food was my friend, but that was only part of it. The rest was what was going on inside of me. And so as I grew up, I, became a nurse, and yet I still felt, I'm not doing a good enough job. I ended up, meeting somebody, my past spouse, when I was 20. I had lost weight then. I'd lost and gained so many times in my life, and I'd lost then. And he came along, and I thought, nobody will ever want me, ever again. I better hold on to this one. He asked me to marry him after, I think it was like 6 months. And, in my heart, I really had that gut feeling he's not the right person for me. But yet, because of how I felt about myself, thinking, I'll never find somebody else, I went into that marriage. And then just going along, it was a very unhealthy marriage. A lot of emotional things went on in that marriage. And, I had 3 children, had postpartum depression. So because of the thoughts I had about myself, the depression just got worse and worse, and the anxiety got worse, and then my weight kept going up. And at 42, I just had hit that point. I was not well, mentally not well. Physically, I got sick. And now I see it was my body's way of yelling out at me to pay attention. Yeah. But I hit that rock bottom, and actually I thought of taking my own life. I had the thought, I just don't want to live like this anymore. I was so unhappy. Like, I was at that place, just getting out of bed was so difficult. And in that moment, I thought of my children, and I have 3 children, and my whole life was, I want children, and I'm there for them. So in that moment, I made that decision. That's not the way this is going to go. And that's where my transition started. Is I decided in that moment, no more of this, no more of what I'm doing. I'm looking for something else that's going to help me. And that's that's what I found. I found a group coaching program that worked on my inner self, and my whole life changed. Like, I not only lost 100 pounds, and that was 13 years ago, but I left that unhealthy marriage, the one that for years I didn't think I could ever lose, like ever leave. And then my relationships are better. So that one moment changed my whole life for the better.
Okay, so I'm hearing there, captivating. I'm sure you're trying to captivate your whole life in sort of those short moments. But I think what I'm hearing there is that idea of you making a choice that was going to be the pivotal point in, your transformation. I'm sure that it took a lot to come to that choice and to, get to the place where you could decide that, what, I don't want this life anymore. I want this life. And it sounds like your children were integral, a very integral part of that decision. In a sense, think about generations and things moving from one generation to the next generation to the next generation. And it sounded like, a pivotal part of your, transformation was, you don't want this to be able to be transferred from you to them. And also thinking about their livelihood and how you want them to be able to live. But I think apart from just them, it sounded like you wanted a change in your own life as well. You wanted things to be different. And you could only do that by, making a choice for yourself to do something different for you. And I guess I'm wondering, what kind of, mindset does it take for someone to make that shift, and make that choice in their life?
The mindset shift, for me, like that was 13 years ago. I really think it was just that in that moment, my mindset was, if I don't do something different, where am I going to end? Like, this isn't the road I want to be on. So in that moment, it was just, I want something different. I need something different, and I'm going to figure this out. Like, that was the mindset. The mindset was, there's no choice. The only choice is to find something that's going to help me.
Got it. And if we really were to think about the choice was life or death, really, in a sense. Is when you talk about sort of suicidality, a lot of times people don't understand it unless they're there and, they're in that moment where they have to make a choice, whether to choose life or to choose, the other side of it. And, I could see how you were wrestling with yourself and wrestling with, the what it would take to do that. And in that moment, your turning point was, what, I have to choose life in this moment. And, you made that choice. So what happened after that?
What happened after that was, I do believe God, the universe, whatever you want to believe in, was looking out for me. And I don't know how I found that group coaching program. So I just kept moving on. I was off work at that time because I was so physically, like, I was mentally not well, but I was physically sick. I had a blood infection. And I remember just like going through my days and just on, I think, like Facebook or, on Facebook and just scrolling. And that group program popped up. Like, it came there, I found it. And that was sort of where my journey went. Was I started also looking after myself too. Before I even found that program, I decided I was going to start looking after myself, because I was a nurse. So nurses are really good for looking after everybody else but themselves, and lots of other women too. Like, it's not just nurses, it's women too. And so I put myself last, because I didn't value myself, right? And in that moment, that was when I decided, no, I'm going to start looking after myself, like saying no when I need to say no. And I never liked exercise in my life. And it was because of that diet mentality. And I found through, like, things came to me, a running program, and it was, you run and you raise money for, a charity. So I joined this and started running, learned how to run. And so it was just these things that came into my life at the right time that just led me to making those changes.
I see. So it starts with this idea of making a choice, that mind shift, and then the mind shift created opportunities that, helped you to get the transformation that you wanted. So, a lot of times we think that, oh, I'm just going to get up and exercise, or I'm just going to get up and, meal prep, right? When it comes to weight loss. But I'm hearing it's important to have that mind shift first to give you the opportunity to seek out the right things that are going to be right for you. So I'm hearing this, running program was really integral for you. I hear that the coaching group was really integral for you. And because of those opportunities, it led you down the path that you were able to take to get to where you are today.
Mm-hmm. And what this is exactly like that group coaching program is what I do with my clients now. So I don't give meals. I don't tell them what to eat. I work on everything that's going on in their head, like all the thoughts that are stopping them from getting to where they want to go, because that's what changed my life. And, I worked at the bariatric clinic for a while where, people went for this stomach surgery to lose weight. And I could see, I worked with these clients, and a year post-surgery, they're stalling out and not losing what they want or gaining it back. And that was another pivotal point in my life, was I know what it takes to lose this weight. And that's when I left and started coaching, because it's your inner thoughts, your inner world that dictates what you're doing. And, when you brought up, said, my thoughts, my mindset, my thoughts changed, and then those things came into place. That's how we make the changes in our life, is by working on what we want to think, because what we think is what we see more of.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so sort of that attraction, law of attraction, right? When you talk about if you focus your mind on what you want and what you would like to have, it brings these opportunities in front of you, and then you have to choose between these opportunities. And I think that that's sort of what I'm hearing from you there. If your mind is in the right place and you're thinking about where you want to go, and you're able to alter the way that you're thinking, then it presents opportunities and ways, I guess, roads for you to take that can help you.
Oh, definitely. Like when I was very depressed, my mindset was only seeing worst case scenario, nothing good. And I don't ever want anybody to, like, one of the biggest things is you never beat yourself up for wherever you're at. It's that I didn't understand. I needed to also be kind and compassionate to myself when I was going through that. And that's a big thing I learned too, was, yeah, my mindset, okay, I'm going to switch it, shift it to this. But our brain is still going to bring all these thoughts in that we've practiced so much. And instead of making them wrong or bad, or we shouldn't think that, it's just going, okay, yeah, I hear you. I hear they're there. You've thought them so many times before, but I get to choose something else too. And that's one thing that I didn't realize, is I just thought they were facts. Like, it's true, nothing I can do, but there are thoughts. And if there are thoughts, we get a choice. Do we want to think that, or do we want to think something else? And that is so powerful.
Mm-hmm. Yes, definitely. And you're hitting on sort of that concept of cognitive behavioral therapy that really talks about we have a schema, right? The way that we think about the world based on our experiences and the way that we interpret things, right? And when thoughts come up, it's based on that schema and what's in front of us, the stimuli. So if we think of thoughts as just thoughts, then it really gives us the opportunity to have power over those thoughts. And we can choose to discard ones that just don't make sense to us, or we can choose the ones that are going to be most important, and recognize that they're not necessarily true or false. They're just thoughts. And very poignant point there for sure.
Yeah. It's so like needed, this work, like, whoever's listening, is knowing that you do have power over wherever you want to go in life. Like, so many people, and I was one of them, like that, where I was in that state I was in, I felt so hopeless. And I want to, like, tell people that there is hope no matter what you're going through. It's just like, even if you start small on gratitude, like starting on like one thing you're grateful for every day, like one thing, because that then brings a little bit more hope into you. So it's like learning all about that. Like my nurses, they're very stressed and they're very busy, and they think, there's nothing they can do about this. And then that's affecting them. You know, they're depressed, they're anxious, they're overeating, and they're like, I have no control. And what I tell them is, you do have control. You have control over what you choose to think about what's happening. And it's not to say what's happening is like good or bad, right or wrong, but then you have the choice what you want to do with that. And it all starts with, what perspective do you want on it?
Yes, definitely. Definitely that empowering yourself, encouraging yourself with the positive self-talk and the way that you think about things will aid in that change and transformation that's going to happen in your life eventually. All right. So, we went through your transition story and we sort of talked a little bit about, moments in your life that helped you, to get to this place. And I'm wondering, what tips could you give to, people out there who are, as you say, weight loss, I'm going through weight loss and have this weight loss journey, but they're finding it to be difficult. What are some tips maybe that you could give to them to help them to navigate that situation?
Well, especially with weight loss, it's really just about, it starts with, we talked a little bit about the self-talk, because so many of us that have tried losing weight and we failed over and over again, we really are beating ourselves up. And, for me, I don't know, I thought, well, that's what I was supposed to do to get me to where I need to go. But it doesn't work that way. It works so opposite. The more you beat yourself up, the more you don't feel good about yourself, the less you're actually going to do what you need to do. So it really first starts with, just like I talk about, kind and compassionate to yourself. If you're not going to talk that way to a child or your friend, you don't talk that way to yourself. That is just, I tell my clients, you catch yourself, it's like, nope, we're not going there. Let's do a different direction. And then it's really just being okay with where you're at.
Yes.
And taking small baby steps, like stopping the extreme diets, that all or nothing, but just start where you're at. Like I tell my clients, like, it's not a destination, because I did lose a lot of weight. Like, I did lose the 100 pounds like a couple of times in my past, but I gained it back because I had it as a destination. Well, I'll be happy when I lose that weight, when I get to my goal weight. I was not any happier. Yeah, my body was smaller, but inside my head, I wasn't any happier. So it isn't about a destination, it's a journey. So learning to love yourself along the way, learning to eat the foods that you really want to eat, learning about hunger and fullness, because nurses, a lot of the ones I've talked to, were disconnected. Like, that's the other thing too, is to do our job, we can't be emotional. And so we're disconnected. And that's the other thing too, is we have these feelings. We're feeling something, stressed or whatever, sad, but we won't let ourselves feel them. We're right away looking for something to make them go away. But instead, it's learning how to be with whatever you're feeling, because I grew up thinking negative emotions. I don't like negative, but that's what people refer them to, positive and negative. The negative emotions are wrong or bad. Like, you shouldn't be angry. Don't be sad. Like, it's okay. Don't cry. But what I realized was, we have to have those negative emotions to know positive emotions. So if we make them so bad and wrong, that's what's causing us more pain and suffering. So it's really learning, like, it's okay. And the other thing is, reach out to somebody. I didn't until I hit that rock bottom. And I know, and I guarantee you, you're not alone. Like, that's why I tell my story, because I thought I was the only one feeling this way, going through it. I never told anybody what was going on. And I wish I did, because I maybe wouldn't have hit that point. It's that seeing you're not the only one.
Yes, yes, no, and I love that message. That's also why this platform exists, because we want other people to recognize that, you're not alone. There's so many people out there going through similar situations like you, and, to give individuals a sense of hope, and also to help them to recognize that resilience is built over time, right? And I think that that's what your story is sharing here, in the sense that you had to journey through something, right? And that journey helped you to learn more about yourself, to choose yourself, like you said, and it also gave you the opportunity to learn how to think differently, but also not just think differently, but recognize that your emotions were important. Emotions are not negative or positive. They're just emotions that we all need to feel and express from time to time. I think definitely emotions and thoughts and actions are very much connected, right?
All connected. Yes.
Yes, definitely. No, thank you for sharing your tips. I'm wondering if there's anything else you'd like to share, regarding weight loss, regarding, what it's like to be a nurse. Like, and I'm sure a nurse in the pandemic is really challenging. And were you able to, did you experience that at all? Or were you a coach throughout the pandemic?
No, I was a coach, but I was working when SARS was going on and that. So it wasn't like what we're going through now, the nurses going through, but I did experience, that like, we were mandated, if we want to work, you had to have that vaccine back then. And there was a lot of uncertainty going on as well. So, I didn't experience this, but I did experience before some other things. So, it's just one of the tips is that I teach is you can't control what's going on. We can't control what other people mandate. We can't control, our work schedules. We can't control the load, the patient load, but we can control what we choose to think about it. And that was a big one, because I was so stressed out back when, and I thought it was all because of what was happening. It's not. Like, what's happening is neutral. It's just there. It's what we make it mean, what we think about it, that creates the stress in our life. And don't get me wrong, like, stress isn't bad, actually. And that's the other thing, is stress isn't bad. It's only harmful if you keep doing it, like stress thoughts every day over and over. It just keeps compounding, which then affects your body. So it's really knowing, okay, if I'm feeling stressed, it's okay. That's just a big flag to say, what am I actually thinking here? Is that really helping me? And just shifting it. I saw it where there's one nurse that, in the same environment is calm and collective and, just not flustered. And then me, I was that other nurse, so flustered and stressed and running around. And the only difference between the two of us is just what was going on in our head.
Yes, definitely. And I love that, you talked about that idea of, stress not necessarily being the enemy, right? Because stress is just a state of a state, if you want to call it that, right? We can be in a state of stress because of circumstances or situations, but we're the ones that are controlling how we react to that or what we think about it. And you're totally right there, in the sense that we are really in control of how we react when we're under stress. And stress is an indicator too, sometimes, of what's going on for us too, and how we're reacting to situations as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, I really appreciate your tips and what you've been able to share here today. So thank you so much for being with us. Maybe what I could ask you is to share some contact information with us, so others out there that are listening, if they want to contact you, other nurses out there, if you're wanting to lose some weight and you're having difficulty, Karen, how can they contact you?
I have a website, KarenSchaible.com. So, and there's also a contact form on there, so they can go to the contact form, fill it out, and then we can get on a call, or I can answer questions. I also have a podcast, Weight Loss for Nurses, and I'm on Instagram and Facebook, Weight Loss for Nurses, and you can always go on there and shoot me a message from there. My door is open. I want to, like, this is what I just love, is help getting on a call, even if they don't want to hire me, getting on a call and just helping them feel just a little bit better. Because that was something for so long I just wished for. Like, I just wished to feel just that little bit better. And then once you get going, then you have that hope and you have that motivation to keep going. Like, that's what's so important, is if you just have one person helping you out just a bit, that can make all the difference in the world.
Yes, definitely. No, thank you for sharing your contact details. I agree completely. A sense of hope is so important. Like when you hear that somebody's listening, somebody's witnessing your story and is willing to, help you or to refer you to somebody else, that could be the jumping off point of, another person's transformation. So thank you so much for what you do.
Thank you. Thank you for letting me come up here today and share and help your listeners out.
Definitely. All right. So we will be putting Karen's contact information in the description box below. Please go and contact Karen if you're having difficulty with weight loss or if you're a nurse. Okay. Well, thank you, everyone, and take care.